accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised the notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board, town hall, and mailed to the officially designated newspapers. A list of the meetings dates annually, indicating this meeting will take place at the town hall at 7 p.m. That's the biggest run-on sentence ever. But Monday, November 20th, 2023.
Sean Giovanni,
Here.
Gary Rosen,
Here.
Rita Truitt,
Here.
Priscilla Saraf,
Here.
Vice Chair Jessica Black.
Here.
Chair.
Here. We're going to start this evening with a bunch of memorializations, and then we'll jump right into our applications. First up, we have calendar 39-10-22, Triple One Holdings LLC. Any corrections or changes on that memorialization? Who's eligible? Are these all the same or no? No.
Eligible to vote on this are Gary, Regina, Jessica, Craig, Ashley, Richie. Those four.
Okay. Can I have a motion on 39-10?
Move approval?
Second.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
Jessica Glatt,
Yes.
Craig Platinum.
Yes. Next up, we have calendar 39-39-23, Lawrence and Lauren Kravlev at 44 Lake. Same crew?
Sean Drew, Gary, Regina, Jessica, Craig.
Any corrections or changes to that memorialization? If not, could I have a motion?
I move approval.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Sean Drew Virgiani,
Yes.
Gary Rosen.
Yes.
Regina Truitt,
Yes.
Jessica Glatt.
Yes.
Craig Platinum.
Yes. Next up, 39-40-23, Aaron and Emily Prince at 50 Lake. Any corrections or changes? Who's eligible?
Same one.
Same crew?
Yeah.
No motion?
Motion to approve.
I can second.
Sean Drew Virgiani,
Yes.
Gary Rosen.
Yes.
Regina Truitt,
Yes.
Jessica Glatt,
Yes.
Craig Platinum.
Yes. Calendar 39-41-23, Yoon Cyan Wang, 12 Fairview.
Sean Drew, Regina, Jessica, Craig.
Any corrections or changes? Have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve calendar 3941-23.
I can second.
Sean Drew Virgiani,
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
Jessica Glatt.
Yes.
Craig Platinum.
Yes. Calendar 39-42-23, Abhinav Agarwal, 38 Hillside.
Sean Drew, Jessica, Craig.
Any corrections or changes? Have a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
Sean Drew Virgiani,
Yes.
Jessica Glatt,
Yes.
Craig Platinum.
Yes. Lastly, 39-56-23, Danielle Fasoli, 15 Allen Drive.
Sean Drew, Regina, Jessica, Craig.
Any changes or corrections? Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Sean Drew Virgiani,
Yes.
Regina Truitt,
Yes.
Jessica Glatt,
Yes.
Uh,
Craig Platinum.
Yes. First up, we have application 39-49-23, 46 Farborough. Latgar, Josh. Good evening.
Hi,
Who's going to speak this evening? All of you?
yes.
That's sweet.
Okay, if everyone could just raise their right hand, please. Do you swear from testimony you're about to give in tonight's proceeding to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes. Yes.
We're gonna go through your names. Sorry, Mr. Preston.
Timothy Klesser.
Saidi Latkar. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I started to spell it, but I think he knows what to do. I just got used to it.
Saidi Latkar.
Siddharth Joshi.
Harrison Barony.
How you be testifying tonight? What capacity?
For engineering.
Engineering, okay. Are you going to start off or
Yeah, I was gonna let
let them go?
Clint
Okay,
start off real quick, then I was gonna go
Fine.
to him and maybe come back to me.
Great, okay, thanks. All right, you're the floor first.
So we purchased this lot, first thing we were looking into Short Hills for primarily the education of our daughter. She's 5, and we found this opportunity where this lot came on the market, which is 46 Farwood Drive. We purchased, Tim already had developed plans for the previous owner. We also had talked to Tim, liked his plans. We purchased the lot in December of 2022. We have already started construction. The construction is about halfway. We are planning to finish it so that we can, our daughter can attend the school year next year in Melbourne. And the main reason why we are here is, as the property stands now, we don't have a backyard, and we would definitely like to have one for our family to enjoy the lot. And we'll obviously leave the technicals to Tim, but if you
Yeah,
could,
just addition, we don't have a level backyard. We have a backyard, but it is having a very steep slope. So it's not very usable the way it stands right now. So that is where we reach out to Tim to help us with this. And I think we'll let him give you the details.
Super. We should call the kid. Okay.
I'm a licensed architect in New York and New Jersey, and I've been licensed for 30 years. My license is in good standing and paid up.
Thank you. Continue.
I started this house initially for one of the Berg boys who was now moving back into town, and then he got transferred to Singapore. So I went back and forth with him about if he should keep the house and would just build it and let it sit till he came back. And then he decided that instead of that, he was going to put it on the market. And what we're doing tonight is exactly the same thing as what we were planning to do when I was doing it for Matt, is that we would file for a building permit with our allowable disturbance of about 1,000 square feet. Because remember that we can disturb a steep slope. We can have 1,000 square feet of steep slopes disturbance on any lot in town. So that would be true in Glenwood with a 6,000 square foot lot. And that's also true here with, I guess, about a 21,000 square foot lot. We're still limited by 1,000 square feet. And I'm only saying that because the quantity disturbance doesn't increase as the lot size increases, just the way the ordinance is written. So we were able to get the house started so we disturbed 1,000 square feet to enable to get into the driveway, to get into this site. And the idea was to get the house sort of framed up, and while it was framed up, go through the process of obtaining a variance for the backyard. And with Matt, it was a much bigger development. He had 2 tiers of this backyard, and it had a pool on the lower tier, and we're probably disturbing about 20% of the lot area. Okay, tonight we're really asking for a variance to disturb. I think it's 2,483 square feet. Now that's in addition to the 958 that we were credited with the initial permit. Right? So that is really, our request tonight is for about disturbance of about 10% of the total lot area of this lot. Okay. This lot itself has a total steep slope of, I think, somewhere around 32% of the lot area. It's a bad lot. When we looked at it initially, we knew we were gonna have to do something in order to get a level backyard. And I'm just gonna not go into this any further and let Harrison do it, because he's really the engineer. And then I'll come back and sort of sum up a little bit. But just before I do that, I want to just put in a couple of exhibits.
Okay, so these are 10 drawings that are not part of the application sheets.
No.
Okay, so go ahead.
Also, tell me about that building coverage thing, like why it went from requesting a variance to not.
Because at one point we thought that, you want to do it, Ellen? You want me to? This is the one with we weren't sure if the deck was in building coverage, but the decks don't count in building coverage.
Okay.
It was a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all it was. I should actually also say that the building coverage is a little lower than what's presently approved by the town. Because as part of this application, we removed some of the building coverage in what's presently under construction.
And Tim, before you even mark, one other question. If this application for variance relief is denied, you said that the building is like 50% completed. Does that have any impact on the applicant's ability to finish the project as was submitted to the building department?
No.
All right, go ahead and mark.
The drawings that are filed are conforming.
But I'm saying you could finish the project if you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
So what I call, is A1?
A1.
I don't know what to do here because I got a couple of sheets.
All right, so why don't you mark, if it's a set, why don't you mark it as A1, and then as you go through your testimony, you'll identify the different sheets.
Okay. This is my first sheet, which we called Exhibit 1. It's really the front elevation of the building as it is built today. It's not 100% sided and finished. The grade isn't finalized, but this is actually the final building. This area over here where we come into the garage is where we have that 1,000 square feet of steep slope disturbance that we've already taken. We're gonna now just go to the rear elevation.
How many sheets total are in A1?
This is it, just the two.
Just Exhibit
Exhibit
1
and Exhibit 2.
Is this A2 or you do?
No, we're gonna keep this A1.
And I just wanted you to see in the rear elevation, and the only reason why I did this in the office is because the dotted line that's coming through here on this diagonal is the existing grade as it abuts the building. And our ask tonight is to cut in this area and to fill in this area, right? You get the idea of what I'm saying. I'm cutting, pulling the grade out so that we can sort of level off the backyard. And that's really what the request is that we're talking about, is to cut in this area and to fill over in that area. And then finally, I think this would probably be Exhibit 2, which is a little bit hard to see, but it's some existing photos of the site as it sits today. Okay, and I guess I would call this A2. And you can see again the front elevation of the building, upper left-hand corner. And then we come across the back. This is the existing rear yard. It's kind of sloping down from the house and goes down to that little cul-de-sac that's behind. I think it's Princeton, I think. The little cul-de-sac back there. And you can see that it's really a pretty steep slope. And this one photo in the lower right-hand corner is, I think, the best to start to understand it. But you can see that right about there, we're about 5 feet below the first floor, whereas on the other side, we're actually about 2.5 feet above the first floor. So that's the request of what we're asking for tonight. We're not asking to do it on the entire backyard. We're asking to do it, I think it's closer to about a third of the backyard. But I'm not, Harrison would know it better than me. And you can kind of see that line again here, how the grade is falling off. And the intent is just to get a relatively level area that they can use as a yard. Okay, and it's we're not attempting to level the entire site, just about, I would say it's about a quarter or a third of the backyard. Okay. With that said, I'd like to pass it on to Harrison.
Any questions for Mr. Klesse?
Any
That
questions?
back area would be grass.
Yes,
That area is
yes.
just straight grass.
We grassed the level area, but the other area is staying as is. It's sort of, they actually want to make a little nature trail through it. It's kind of pretty back there. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that the engineer is going to talk about what the definition is of steep slopes and what the deviation is,
Yes.
correct? And any type of tree disturbance and things of that.
Mhm.
Come on down.
Okay.
For those in the audience that are here on this case, not sure if anyone's here, but we'll open up for questioning once the engineer has made his testimony. And if you have questions of Mr. Klesse, he will field those at that time.
Okay. You want me to go through my credentials or?
Please do.
Okay.
Start with your name.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Harrison Barony. I work for E2 Project Management located in Rockaway, New Jersey, 87 Hibernia Avenue. And I attended Rutgers University for my Bachelor's of Science in Engineering. I've been practicing engineering roughly 10 years now. And I've had my license for a bit over a year now, and I've testified before a few boards, City of Summit, Township of Morris, Harding Township, just to name a few. I do have a license. I'm a licensed engineer in New Jersey. It is current and in good standing.
Please continue.
Okay. So just to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Klesse had gone over, this was a previous application back in April of 2022 that was approved. And essentially the changes that are being made are some changes mostly to the rear yard. And based on the changes to the rear yard, other minor changes have been made based on that major change. Again, we were previously requesting building coverage variance, which we had listed on our drawings, which we no longer are, as what was previously discussed. The deck no longer counts as building coverage. So our number that was previously listed as building coverage on our plans as 3,433 square feet actually now is reduced down to 2,762 square feet, which is 13.2% of the lot area, which is now in compliance. So no, we are no longer asking for a variance for building coverage. We are only asking for a variance for the steep slope disturbance. The plans I'm referring to today were prepared and signed by me, identified as revision B, dated July 14th, 2023. And the first page, figure 1, if you look to the right, the proposed steep slope area map, the area shaded in orange is the steep slope area, which is calculated as any slopes greater than 20% or 1 foot for every 5 foot horizontal distance counted as a 2 foot interval for contouring. So you count every 2 foot intervals, and if you're exceed 20% slope, that is considered a steep slope. The area outlined in red here was the previous area of disturbance from the approved plans, and the area now dotted in black is our new area of disturbance. So as you can see, as you head towards the rear of the yard, there is more steep slopes. Therefore, we have more steep slope disturbance. The natural topography of the site slopes from the street from the southeast to the northwest at this far corner. That is your low point of the site. So that is where your stormwater runoff and your just natural slopes are going today. The back of the site is wooded, and the previous number of trees that were to be removed that was approved was 18 trees, and that has increased to 32 trees in total. And that's, again, mainly just due to the disturbance in the rear yard and the flattening of that rear space to be more functional, essentially, for the family. So I just wanted to really go over what was approved and then what we're proposing and kind of the differences in the two, just so the board can understand what the changes are. Do you have a question?
Before you do that.
Yeah.
In terms of the tree removal.
Yeah.
Do you identify on the plan, I believe you do, the diameter breast height of all those trees?
Yeah, I believe it's 6 inches in caliper in height and greater. We identify all those trees. And they vary in size from about 6 inches to, I think, 38 inches is the largest tree. There's only one fairly large tree that's being come out. And as you head to the rear of the site, there's still a significant amount of larger trees that we're preserving and keeping intact. So there still is a good buffer to the neighbor to the rear. And we did keep that in mind with the grading of the backyard.
Did your plan been submitted to the town forest yet?
That I'm not aware of. I can't speak to that.
Probably not.
It's usually not done until after.
Until after us, okay.
Can we just, you referred to an approved plan, was that a plan that needed a variance, the previous plan? or
No.
was-
Just a lot grading plan.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no variances. And I was just going to quickly go through kind of the main features of that approved plan. So the previous plan, as I said, dated April 20th. The building coverage that was proposed was 14%, which is just in compliance. The impervious coverage was 24.8%, which was also in compliance. The rear yard setback was 95.9 feet. And again, the approved number of trees to be removed was 18 trees. And with our proposed plans, I'll flip now to our proposed site plans, you can see. And the plan here to the left on the second page, that is the approved site plan from the last application, just for reference. So we kind of comparing both side to side so you can see the differences. With our proposed plan, again, 32 trees to be removed, maintaining a wooded buffer in the rear to the neighbor. We're proposing the 2.5-story home, which was already approved from the last application.
All right, wait, stop. So
Sure.
you keep saying an application, okay? That application, there's no application before this board, correct?
No, this is just in reference to the approved plans that Mr. Klesse had referred to back in April from the previous owner, the Bergs. So I just want the lot grading plans.
So.
Yeah.
Approved. Okay?
No,
You
I
submitted
understand.
plans,
Right,
And they didn't require variance. But
correct.
there's nothing approved about them.
No, they were approved for building permit, so I just wanted to kind of go over the changes from the building permit to what we're proposing now, so that the board can understand what can be built versus what we're asking. If you don't want me to, I don't have to go further detail. It's good.
What you should, so the building department approved plans, you constructed a project, you're
Correct.
half done, you now are asking for a variance for steep slope disturbance.
Correct.
So explain where the steep slope disturbance is, which I think you're starting to do.
Yeah.
It would be helpful to show what trees are actually going to be removed as a result of the steep slope disturbance versus the regular construction disturbance.
Sure.
And then also identify the level of steep slope. I understand that anything over 20% is counted as a steep slope, but I think it would be interesting to the board and the public as to what degree of slope is being disturbed. Is it 20%? Is it 30%? Where are we?
So based on
Another
the,
thing, I also want you to address the 1,000 square feet you took.
yes,
You're at 1,000 already, like exactly 1,000?
I don't know,
Like that sounds.
currently, I don't know what the exact disturbances of this
It's
site
like
today.
950.
We are approved for 958 and you're permitted 1,000. And our new disturbance we're proposing is 3443, so it's a difference of 2489, 85, yeah.
All right.
So again, referring to the front page, the two lines of limit of disturbance, the area between the red and the black here, that is the area where the additional trees are being removed. And they're outlined, if you go from the existing driveway and you go back, those trees are the 14 trees that are additional to be removed. As far as the steep slope goes, as far as categorizing the steep slopes in percentages, we didn't do that because the ordinance doesn't call for a categorized steep slope calculation, it only calls for what exceeds 20%, so that's what we prepared, and that's the limit of disturbance that we're showing. However, if you look at the topography, as you go closer to the rear of the site in the corner, it does get steeper based on the closeness of the topography lines. So the area that we're actually disturbing is a more flat area, rather than if you go towards the corner, the back of the site where it drops off, it's more steep in that area. So I hope that answered your question.
With regard to these steep slopes that you're disturbing,
Yes.
are they natural steep slopes or are they man-made steep slopes from some other development?
They appear to be naturally steep slopes. I took a site visit out there and there's, vegetation out there, the trees. There's some mature trees out there, evidence that they've been there for quite a while. And if there's any lot grading around there, filling, whatnot, probably would, kill some of those trees. So it appears to be more naturally occurring. And I'd like to just flip to the second page again, our proposed plan. I'm not going to go into the changes from the last plans that were submitted, but basically, like Mr. Klesse was saying, and our clients, we're proposing the backyard to be a more flat backyard, so it's more functional for the family. So what we're doing is we're putting a retaining wall around the perimeter of the site. It does range in height from about 3 feet to 6 feet. As you head more toward the north, that's where the wall gets higher as this, the slopes get lower. And we're going to be preparing, stability calculations and retaining wall calculations for that. Anything over 4 feet in height, you have to prepare. And also, we are proposing dry wells to capture the impervious coverage for the site, and that in the ordinance is you have to provide 250 cubic feet for every 1,000 square feet of impervious coverage. So what we're doing is we're capturing the roof area, the walkways, and the driveway area, and we actually have an inlet in the driveway area in the corner. It's for some reason it's turned off on our plan, but it should be there. So your driveway comes down from the street and slopes towards that corner of the driveway, so we're capturing that water. And we're also capturing a portion of the backyard in this yard inlet, which is going to be directed to those dry wells. And we also have roof leaders from the house, which is being directed to those dry wells as well. We are also proposing a rainwater harvesting tank that is shown here. It's a circular tank. It's basically, a green infrastructure type of elements, reuse of rainwater. So you collect your rainwaters mainly from your roof area, which is a more clean stormwater. Doesn't need to be filtered. And it's going to be collected in that tank, and there'll be like a small pump put in there and be used for irrigation purposes for watering the plants or the lawn. And the changes to, the driveway, like I said, slopes from the street. And, we're proposing a 3-bay garage, which is compliance with the zone. And that's basically it for my testimony. We still need to do soil testing for the dry wells, I should add. There's a glacial till, really. The zone's a Boonton substratum type of soil based on Web Soil Survey. And it is rated a Class C hydraulic rating. So it isn't the best, but again, we need to do soil testing to check for the groundwater table where that's at. And, we'll work with the engineer with the results that we have, the township engineer.
What happens if the soil testing results in you not being able to use those dry wells as
So there's
designed?
different ways to go. It's, if the groundwater table is high, you can do some storage like detention systems, or maybe you can route, the roof leader water at least to the street. I did notice a lot of the houses in the area, and based on where we are in the town, in front of the dwelling, in front of the lot is a high point of the road. So here the natural surface water will run down the street to the north, and then as you go to the south, it goes to the south. There's no stormwater inlets directly in front of the house, and all of the properties there have their roof leaders per se, or potentially sump pumps discharge into the roadway from the curb. So that could be a potential.
No, it's not. That's not potential. You can't do that. You can't just charge for the street.
It's been done before. Obviously, you don't want to. That's not the path we want to go. If you want to retain water. Okay, so that's not going to be proposed, and so we'll have to do a detention system. And well, the front yard is a higher elevation, so based on the invert and the slopes, we wanted to put in the backyard because that's where the natural topography of the site goes. It's easier with the gravity line to feed it down towards the back. But we do have other options. They do make systems out there for detention. They do make shallow retention, gravel with perforated piping. So there are other ways to capture the stormwater runoff. And that concludes my testimony, really.
So I'm sure it's obvious to everybody else, but can you just show me on this map, where is it going to be flat?
Where it's gonna be flat?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Back here. So this is the dwelling shaded in dark gray. And then you have the deck here, which is a crosshatch.
Right.
And then there's some steps that go down, and this entire area in the back here is what's gonna be flat. You can see our contouring. So it slopes from grade 102 to 101. It's a shallower grade slope than what was there before.
But I agree with Mr. Rosen. I'm a little confused because Mr. Klesse had said it was going to be just sort of the sides and leveling it out, but it sounds like it is going to be most of the backyard. Is that correct?
It's about 3,000 to 4,000 additional square feet based on the limit of disturbance. I don't have an exact area, say from the back of the deck to the wall. I don't have that number for you tonight, but it's around 3,000 to 4,000 square feet based on the difference in disturbance, which is mostly in the back of the site.
Go ahead.
I had a question on the prior slide. You
Sure.
have the red dotted line and then the black dotted line.
Yes.
So that's not the only area that's going to be flattened out, but you're going to go beyond the black dotted line as well, as if I just heard correctly.
No, so this black dotted line, that is the limit of our disturbance. We're not disturbing any land past that line. That is the total grading disturbance. So this dotted line back here, the black line, that's essentially the perimeter of your wall. That's following the wall line. Anything beyond that is gonna remain as it is today. Anything before that to the house is what's gonna be flattened out.
I see. And then it falls off then, I would imagine, because
Yes.
it's naturally going down.
That's correct, yes.
Can I ask another question? Is this area ever flooded? Do you know?
It's not in a flood area, and it's actually at a higher elevation than some of the properties around. So based on the FEMA mapping, it's not a flood hazard area, and I didn't see any evidence of flooding out there, any like erosion or
Okay.
whatnot.
Do you know if any of the neighbors have ever flooded or if
I'm not.
there's been any flood? Because we've had a couple of pretty
Yeah.
major storms in the past 5 years, 10 years.
I'm not aware of that, no.
We'll get to you in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Virginia, anything else?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, no, I visited this site. I don't necessarily agree that these are naturally occurring steep slopes, but, it almost seems like you're taking that existing fill that's against the back of the house and trying to push it out the back, towards the back. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're trying to balance the site. We're trying to, obviously, we're gonna have fill in the back of the yard because it does drop off, so that will be retained with the
You don't have
retaining walls.
elevations of what this is gonna look like when it's done, do you?
We don't have any side elevations, but we do have a detail of a retaining wall. That's gonna be, how the maximum height of the retaining wall is gonna be and how it's gonna be constructed.
Keep that up. So that back retaining wall, you say is gonna be 6 feet high. And the property line is the line that's around the outside right now. It's just, because I noticed that the yard falls off pretty hard back there.
6 foot is the highest the wall will be, and that's only in this area. Here it drops down to 4 feet. This is only a 2 foot wall here, so it varies obviously around the site based on the existing topography and how we graded the site. But 6 foot is the worst case scenario, and it's only in a small area here. So it's not gonna look massive, from the naked eye from down below. And it's actually improving the drainage because we're leveling off the area and we're capturing some of the water as to where before it wasn't being captured at all. And it's just flowing down this steep slope, into this yard down here. So we're actually improving the site stability wise and drainage wise with the retaining wall.
What kind of walls do you have in the front yard? Because I noticed like that driveway is substantially lower than the front yard.
Right here.
Yeah, what are those sizes?
Those are segmental retaining walls.
Okay.
These are already built and these are.
No, not the ones against the house.
Right here?
Yeah, that side. There's nothing built there now.
Yeah, these are fairly low. This is only a foot high. This is a foot and a half. So
That's all it is. Huh?
Yeah, it's only-
almost big right now. I mean, it's like
yeah, it has to be regraded. It looks a bit deceiving, I guess, from the roadway, but
it's a huge drive.
it's gonna be regraded. Yeah.
You're gonna be able to access the area beyond the retaining walls for maintenance and other purposes?
Yes, we're right here. We're proposing a step so you can walk down to the rear, for maintenance and accessibility.
There's a patio in the back corner. Why is that there?
That's a patio. I don't know if the client wants to speak to that. That's a patio they wanted for. If you want to.
I mean, we, like in the previous plans, this area was actually the covered porch with like a fire pit and all that. So we took that off, which was like 250 or so square feet. We thought that while we are leveling the backyard, this might be a good spot for laying down chairs or something in the summer. We wanted provision for that. It's about 125 square feet. But again, are we really married to that? Probably not. It's just felt that this was a natural space where you could have all these, the fence and the retaining wall. Nice place to like spend some time and out in the nature with. And one thing that's he said, here it's pretty much flat, like you can just step down, and we want to make a nature trail out. So one reason we also pulled down these walls, like we didn't go all the way because we wanted to make sure that the tree cover is there, which we definitely love. But so we try to make it a balance between having a reasonably big yard where we can also facilitate putting a rainwater harvesting plant, dry well, so on, with some more space that is reasonable enough, but having a balance to keep the wood cover, the tree cover all the way back.
They're hoping to take the undisturbed area and develop a nature, that's what,
Yeah.
well, she wants to do it with her dad.
So that's a project I want to do with my dad. So we just want to put in some pavers there, and then it was a nice area for my kid to go and play as well. Like we live in the city right now, so she doesn't have that, and particularly in COVID, being close to nature was a big thing for us. That's something we missed, and that's when we started looking for homes. And we love Melbourne because it's green, it has good schools, it has perfect accessibility to the city. So it checked all the boxes, and this is a big plunge for us because it's obviously, it's a substantial investment. So we want to make the most out of this house to make sure that we can establish some roots here and give a good environment for our kids to live in. So that's the whole idea. So it's not really, we're not trying to do something crazy there. We really like to have the greenery around. It was actually very hard for me when they were just cutting down trees, because that was the whole thing. We didn't really want that. But yeah.
And that's why we try to limit our
Exactly.
disturbances so that we can maintain at least trees as much as we could. Like this is quite a big tree, this is quite a big tree, but one of the trees is right against the house, which again has to be probably removed for like
Hazardous.
just because it can, like it's leaning on the building. Like one of the pictures that Tim had that tree right up against.
How actually big is the grassed area? Like in terms of width?
I can put on the scale.
I'd say that's just like, how big is that?
You want to talk in the widest, so,
No, I just want to try to figure out what it is. 50 feet?
yeah, 50 to 55 feet. The middle.
This is like a,
And this is pretty much flat thing, right? Yeah, it's pretty much
It's
flat.
only a 1 to 2.
we're talking about a grassed area that's closer to about 45 by 50 feet is what we're talking about. I just want to make sure everybody understands that all of this is this area that we're leaving natural. We're just trying to create a space kind of big enough to sort of kick a soccer ball around. We're not trying to, double tier the backyard and level it. I did have I'm not sure, is anybody here that's a neighbor? Were you the one that called me?
Wait, Tim.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. But I did have a neighbor call me, who I think is the neighbor behind.
Okay.
And I went over the plan with them.
15 okay.
The 38-inch caliper tree. And this is difficult because you don't have your tree removal plan superimposed over your construction plans. But just trying to eyeball it, is there a way that you could achieve your goal of leveling off the backyard area and maintain that tree?
97.
Yeah, it's like a 2. Well, if we keep the tree, our proposed grade there is about 3 feet higher. So that may cause enough disturbance to kill the tree if you're adding that much soil to the base of it. So you essentially have to try to keep the same elevations.
So you're saying there's no way to prevent the cut and fill from killing that tree?
You could do a tree well, that's an option, to put a kind of cinder block or protection around the tree. And that could potentially save that tree.
Is this the one close to the house?
I mean,
That's why 38 is a big tree. That's-
Yeah, it's a good tree.
It's this far off the property.
38 inches.
The trees that got approval, that were on the green, kind of like say from the driveway forward.
Yeah.
I think that tree is not even in the area. It's beyond the retaining wall. Unless the front is.
Is this the tree? That's a 36 inch, that's a different tree.
I just,
That's
these
a different
things,
tree, that's this
these things at the same
This is the
scale.
one on the side.
isn't the, under the existing conditions and demolition plan,
Yes.
isn't the area that's being I guess, fenced off, isn't that within the limits of disturbance?
Right, so
Right.
that dark dashed line is your limit of disturbance, essentially following the wall. So anything inside of that, those are the
That's an
trees that are,
accurate
right?
depiction of the wall.
Yes, it borders the wall, essentially. Even, I mean, the same line is shown on that proposed plans. This is the same exact line. See how it follows around?
So that tree is right in here.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, it's, yeah, right here.
That tree's right in there.
Yeah.
We're going from about 98 to 101. right?
Yeah, it's about 3 foot there.
It's about a 3-foot difference.
Any other questions from
We
board
could
members?
probably save it. We'd have to drop the grade.
We put a tree.
How level is this? Like how
It's
level
only a
do you need
2
it
foot-
to be to play soccer?
Well, it's only a 2 foot slope essentially across the entire backyard, so it's
This way
very
or
minor,
this
yeah. No, from south to north. in this direction. This is the way it's sloping. Yeah, it's going this way. Yeah.
Any other questions from the board before I open it up?
Just one quick one, you might have said this already, forgive me for being redundant if it's been answered already. Are you creating any cliffs by this leveling and then the drop off the natural?
No, so we were proposing a 4 foot fence around the high part of the wall, which is shown here just in front. So that's providing, a safety railing for
But
everybody.
so you are creating a little bit of a cliff in the fence?
Yeah,
protecting
6
against
foot
that?
drop is the largest,
feet.
yeah.
So, so the fence has to be maintained or there will be a cliff?
Oh, yes, yeah, it will be
Yeah.
maintained.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, I open up to the audience for questions only of professionals. So if you have a question, please come on down.
Yeah.
Come on.
My name,
Hold on, Mike. Right here.
okay.
Just give us your name and your address, please.
My name is Jeff Frankel. My wife and I live in the house next door, 40 Farbrook. Our house is quite a bit lower, as you know.
Yes.
And I just wanted to get
So, Mr. Frankel,
assurance.
Hold on a second, Mr. Frankel. Can you just identify, going to the engineering plan, where your house is in relation to?
It's here,
Is it
I
to
don't
the
know.
right?
it's to the north here, right?
No, well, if you're facing their house, we're on the right.
Okay, so the north,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, your question.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted, we were just seeking assurance that the runoff, that was not going to run on to our property, which is considerably lower than this project.
Sure, yeah, I can answer that. Right, so, we're proposing the retaining walls and there's one already built there. So the retaining walls, they have a drainage pipe beneath that, collects the seepage of water and directs the water outward. There is a pipe right now for this wall that's headed out, which we're gonna direct, down to the west. This is where the natural channel runs to the back corner. So the runoff will head this way and anything collected here. So based on our topography of the proposed grading in the back and the rear, all of this area right here will come to this drain, which is being collected. This small area here is what may potentially run off, but this is all natural that was already running off to your site. We're capturing more stormwater and detaining it on our site rather than what it was before, which was running naturally onto your site. So there should be less stormwater runoff going towards your site than there is, today.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience regarding this application? I'm just to comments now. Anyone in the audience have any comments regarding this application? All right, close the public portion. Board members, what do you think about this?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So it's a big ask, it's quite a few feet over variance as described, and it concerns me a little, the trees concern me. Of course, the cliff, I would want to have the fence in perpetuity to protect the cliff, people from falling off the abyss, the 6 foot cliff. But it's a big ask. I'm anxious to hear what my colleagues think.
When I look at these houses that are built new on these lots, it always baffles me when a house gets built out at the maximum building coverage on the lot, and then all of a sudden, it's like a now what situation? And we're seeing this more and more and more. I don't see where disturbing, what is it, 2,600, 2,500, whatever it is, square feet to gain 2,400 square feet. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. And this is the topography of the lot. I mean, that should have been thought about when this house was built. If this house was scaled down or something along those lines, it could have been addressed. Now all of a sudden, the house is built and it's, wait a minute, we have no backyard. I'm not really sure that's gonna be something that I'm going to make a decision on to have happen, so I wait everyone else's thoughts.
I guess, my thought is that, we have this steep slope, disturbance, we have these parameters for it. And, and I know relatively recently, applicants are now allowed to disturb even more. And my question is kind of, when do we get to the point where it really is just too much? And it's going to be detrimental to the entire neighborhood. And looking at this application, I wonder if we're at that point with this kind of ask.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a little further on that, you're right, you're disturbing a total here of 3,443 square feet. On a lot that's 20,900, so now we're well over, 15% or more of the lot. So I agree. I mean, now it's gotten to the point where, these things in the past, you sort of said, okay, but now it's such a huge deviation from what we typically see.
Yeah, I agree with those comments, but Rob, can I just ask the standard, like what is the standard for something like this?
Well, this is a bulk variance.
Right.
So either you can determine that the property owner has suffered a hardship due to the existing conditions of the land. And here, it's a little bit different because it's not like this property is completely sloped to begin with and is virgin land.
Right.
And, you don't want it to end up in an inverse condemnation situation. So we're going to allow some disturbance so you can make some use of the property. So here, they clearly, and that's why I asked Mr. Klesse at the beginning, well, what happens if this board denies the application? You're still going to be able to make use of the property, certainly. So you can, determine that, okay, these are steep slopes and they're, you heard from the testimony of the engineer that they're naturally made. So therefore, there's a you can, I guess, argue that there's a hardship due to the existing conditions of the lot. Or you can make a determination under the flexible C2 criteria that the benefits of the steep slope deviation outweigh the detriments, and this is a better zoning alternative for the property under the Calvin case. So that's what you're left with. Any other questions?
Sorry, just a quick question for you. So the township engineer will look at this and make sure from a drainage point of view that it's safe if we were to approve this with the engineer?
Well,
Make sure that the drainage is,
I do always feel that when an applicant like here presents some stormwater mitigation, I think that can fairly be taken into account by the board in determining whether to grant the relief. That ultimately will go to the township engineer. They're gonna have to do some testing, gotta determine where the groundwater table is. If the groundwater table is too high, they're gonna need an alternate approach. That's why I also asked, well, what are you gonna do if it fails?
right? Yeah, thank you.
So the 1,000 square feet that was allowed, that was utilized at the time of construction.
Those
So now we
two
have extra
garage out.
2,500. Look, I mean, there's also been change of hands in terms of ownership. So I guess new owner did come in with a little bit of a I mean, they could make a decision saying, yes, this is what has been approved and we are okay to go with it. But now that, that they need, I'm willing to, consider a little bit, maybe less than 2,500, if that's something which could be acceptable to the members. Because clearly, I mean, keeping in mind, it's not like at the start when this was made, constructed in this way, to your point, right, that they were party to it. And now that, they come in, albeit with full knowledge that,
You're buying a lot,
Right.
yeah,
so that would be, my thought. But again,
Well, I mean, irrespective of whether they were aware that the 1,000 feet had been used or not, it's still a substantial area that needs to be leveled. And so it feels like it's a lot more than it really should be.
the ask is clearly, a lot. I'm totally on board. But whether we want to consider something, that's something which,
That's something, I guess, they
Sure.
have to propose.
right.
Sorry?
We'd like to push.
Fine. When can we?
Sorry.
This one again? Is that coming back?
It's supposed to come back next meeting.
We haven't seen it.
I haven't gotten it. The next available would be December 18th.
It's okay with me.
Because December 4th is pretty full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 18th?
Thanks for all your input. Thanks for that.
So for those of you that are here tonight, we'll move to December 18th. We'll hear further testimony at that time.
So this application's been carried to the board. It's meeting of December 18th at 7 o'clock in this room, and no further notice will be provided by the applicant.
Next up, we have calendar 395023, 29 Winding Way.
Good evening. Happy holidays to all. I'm representing Ashutosh Sharma.
You guys, wait, you guys, hey folks, you could take it in the hallway, thank you.
I'm loud enough to scream over anybody in all circumstances.
Okay. Real quick, you have D variance, correct?
We do. I'm counting
Yes.
6 members.
So you have 6 members, so before you get started, are you comfortable knowing you need to open your eyes?
Can we proceed and get a sense of where the board is? And
Absolutely.
if that's okay, we're all here. We're paying for the experts tonight, if that's okay.
I'm good with that, just want to make you aware of your understanding.
I'm an expert in counting board members after doing this for a little bit.
Good, okay, it's part of his credentials.
Okay, you guys can sit down.
Count it.
Sit down. You
Yeah.
guys sit down. So my client Ashutosh Sharma is here, and we're at 29 Winding Way. We're identified as block 1711, lot 11 on the tax maps, an R6 zone. This is a house renovation. We do have some variances, including a D variance. We suggest that overall the relief is quite modest and reasonable. On building coverage, we're at 24.5% with 23% permitted in the R6 zone. So the deviation is 1.5% or 144 square feet. On the building coverage, on floor area ratio, we're 1% over with 37% proposed, 36% permitted. That's just 96 square feet. We suggest that the deviations are modest, and really what we're trying to get at is the design and aesthetics. We believe that the design and the aesthetics can be accommodated by the lot. We have somewhat of a peculiar location on a curved part of Winding Way. That leaves us with 2 front yards and no rear yards. And as we've pointed out in the application package, we have a front yard setback for the proposed garage on the left-hand side of the structure. And we also have a front yard setback on the right related to the proposed porch and the second floor. We have our architect tonight, Keith Giannakopoulos, and then Mr. Lanzafama is going to handle any engineering issues and the planning testimony. So with that, Chairman, we'll call the architect.
Super. Qualify your speakers if you
Okay, Keith, you want to come on up and we'll get you sworn in?
You just raise your right. Do you swear or affirm testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name for the record, spelling your name, please.
Keith Giannakopoulos, Giannakopoulos.
Okay, could you provide your professional qualifications for the board, please?
Sure. I'm a registered architect in the state of New Jersey since 1996. I attended Pratt University, where I received my bachelor's of architecture in 1992, and I've been practicing architecture since graduation.
And you're licensed in New Jersey?
Yes,
And have you testified in front of planning and zoning boards in the state?
yes, many times.
And you've been recognized as an expert by those boards?
Yes, I have.
Can you just give us 2 or 3 of them?
Morris Township, Verona a month ago. Yeah, I mean,
That's 3.
Cedar Knolls, I can keep going.
Chairman, we appreciate that. Okay, could you run through the program here, Keith?
Sure. Do you mind if I share your
Yeah.
space here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I was engaged by the Sharmas to design an addition to their home, to modernize it, enlarge, and, keeping in mind the key elements of usability, efficiency, sustainability, and security. So some of the key things that they were looking at when they decided to, increase the size of their home. The existing conditions, briefly mentioned by Rich, the existing home it's a dated Cape Cod. It's 1.5-story structure with a single loaded, front loaded garage and a curving shallow lot. So the lot is very long, as you could see in the engineering drawings, and not that deep. It's located in kind of a U-shaped neighborhood with similar sized Cape Cods and modest sized colonials, I'd say. A few of the houses seem to have been renovated, so there are some that are larger, but the balance of them, the majority, are smaller houses with front-loaded garages. So the existing home currently has 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths, but as I stated, it's not really suitable for today's living standards. The rooms are small size, not a lot of storage, and they're looking to upgrade. To accommodate the Sharma's needs, I developed a program with an initial concept to increase the garage capacity. Keep them in mind, like indoor charging for electric vehicles, increasing the interior rooms, so living space, kitchen, great room type spaces, and creating more of a modern floor plan. And with that, also trying to increase the curb appeal, adding a front porch, design elements and aspects of similar features found in the neighborhood, but kind of brought up to a little bit the next level. So let me sorry, I just lost my place here. The other idea that I had with the initial concept was that any work we do, any expansion that we do, I'd like to minimize the setbacks on the sides, because we have 2 side yards, and there's a single story structure that juts out a little bit from the main portion of the house. So the idea was to remove that single-story structure and decrease the amount of setback to the house and create that addition up and toward the rear yard. And with that, creating two-car garage, rotated facing the side, which is technically the front because we have this sloping front yard.
Keith, you want to use the plans a little bit?
Yeah, yeah.
Call it out. So these are the sheets in the
Which is here.
package. Call out your sheet numbers while you go along.
Sheet T1 is the renderings, the main rendering of the house. And the curvature of the street allows me to rotate the garage, keeping the front wall intact. So the front wall, if you look down at the existing house, the front corners of the house and the front of the existing garage are the front corners in the front of the mudroom here, which we converted the garage to in the design. And then the garage is stepped back a bit and flows with the curvature of the street. So, the idea was to not increase the front yard setback and any of the other side yard setbacks, but to decrease, but maintain that front yard, and only the front porch is what is, encroaching on that front yard setback. The existing house is not conforming on the front yard, but my idea was to not make that any worse.
So are you making it worse?
Well, only with the porch, yes. Yeah, with the actual front wall of the house remains, and we went straight up, and then the porch was added. And again, it's a modest porch, 6 feet deep, not anything crazy, more for the design aesthetic of the house and for some protection when they have visitors over, they get packages from Amazon, just, protection from the elements.
Okay.
So adding that garage on the side and the porch kicked us slightly over the FAR and the building coverage by 1.5% and 1%. And what we did was rotate also the driveway. So the driveway right now is coming up directly into this part of the house here.
Hey Keith, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. Why don't you refer to Mr. Lonzafama's plans, even just to orient the board
Sure, I have it.
to where
Yeah.
your elevation sits and both the existing house versus the proposed house.
Okay.
So just call this out. This is
This
Mr.
is-
Lonzafama's plan that's in the file, right?
Yes, this is the plan that was filed. Mike had sent me a copy. So the front portion of the house, if you look at the engineering plan sheet 1, the front of the house here is what is existing to remain going up. And then the garage addition occurs on the side, steps back and across the rear. And then what you'll see in the back right corner is that one-story structure that's being removed and trimmed off to align with the existing side of the house and align with the new addition in the rear. And then the front porch, you can see here, is at 6 feet in addition to the front.
You still comply with the front yard setback, correct?
The front yard setback average, Mike will testify to that, but it's a pre-existing non-conforming that I did not intend to make worse with the building, but the porch does encroach more. Do not, correct.
You keep hearing that we comply. You don't comply at all.
No, you're correct. We don't comply. My intention was to not make it worse with the building. Yes,
But you are. I mean, I don't care if it's a porch or not.
Right.
It's a building.
yes,
So you are making it worse.
yes.
Okay. Just want to get that straight.
Okay.
You think you're not making it worse, but you're 100% off. But okay. So you did.
Okay. With the rotation of the driveway, it becomes longer, more usable, a little wider, but we're still under, and again, Mike will testify to this, but we're still under the impervious coverage numbers. So I touched on some of this, kind of already, but the idea was to maintain that existing footprint of the house in the front, and use similar massing in the design to the neighbors, and create a structure, house that would be comfortable for the Sharmas. We did an ensuite bedroom in the first floor for Mrs. Sharma's elderly parents, and that would give them the opportunity to age into the home, age in place, and then the open rooms, as I stated before, to give the house more of a modern feel. On the outside, we're using materials that would be sustainable and maintenance-free. We're proposing hardy plank siding for the horizontal clapboards and the vertical board and battens, standing seam metal for the roof on the porch, and asphalt shingles for the main roof, and then cultured stone as an accent on that first floor with the columns. So to recap, my testimony, the positive aspects that I see are increased usability, the design aesthetic, curb appeal, decreasing the distances to the side yards, and really protection from the elements, the use of the garage for unpacking groceries in snow and rain, and the front porch for any visitors, and also thinking about deterring theft. A lot of cars getting stolen recently, so to have the cars in the garage at night is a really good thing to have. So, I mean, that concludes my testimony. Feel free to shoot some questions at me.
So your lot's 9,600 square feet. The zone requires 6,000, or 60% larger. Why do you have an FAR in building coverage variation?
I stated earlier that the addition of the garage is counted in the FAR, so that kind of hurts the livable area that's left. So to try to balance the livable area with the garage area, I did come 1% over.
Can you get rid of the 1%?
With a redesign of the house, the front corners are set, so any.
You understand you have an enormous lot.
Right.
In the zone,
Right.
enormous. Yet you're still going more.
I understand.
Okay.
So to decrease any square footage really would be from the back of the house. We
Where
added.
you get it's up to you.
Right. Well, my intention was to not mess with those front corners and to maintain that from the street. So if
See that from the street. So how much further forward is this house, existing house, from the neighbor's house at 39?
I believe it's, I'll let Mike testify to that, but I believe it's 15 to 20 feet different
21 feet.
because we're on the curve and we have a longer lot. So the other houses are set back further.
How many houses are set 17 feet off the street in that neighborhood?
So we only reviewed 6 houses on 3 in each direction, but my guess is on the curve on the other side, there'd be a similar condition because of that horseshoe. You would have similar layout houses.
Well, that's not my question, but okay, I'll wait for Mike.
Okay.
Any other questions for the architect?
Yeah, I have a question. Did you, how many other houses on the street have front porches?
Front porches, 2 or 3, 2, I think. The one directly across the street and one down a little bit. There are 3 or 4 porticos just, in front of the front door. And then at the end of the street, across, is that Pines, East Pines? Pine. There's a house with a full porch across the front, similar to what we're proposing.
Did you consider a portico versus like the full front porch?
Yeah, we did. So taking into account the portico versus the front porch, it saves us on the building coverage, but then we're still over on the FAR. So it's a different look, it's a different design, but but we did look at that as well.
You think this has any benefits versus a portico, what we have here, in terms of the aesthetics? Keith, that's a
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry. In my personal opinion, a full front porch.
You designed it, you knew that it was a variance, why'd you put that in?
In my opinion, the full front porch gives a better curb appeal, as I mentioned earlier, to the look of the house, and to improve the, the neighborhood and the aesthetic of the neighborhood.
So of course it could be smaller, but from an architectural standpoint, I think this has some benefit to the community
do.
and overall aesthetics.
I do, and the idea was to do it more as a protection and as an aesthetic, so it only goes out 6 feet. It's not an 8 or 10-foot porch that would push us almost to the street. So that wasn't our intention. The intention was to, create something that gave us good curb appeal, functionality, and that the Sharmas would, appreciate the design.
Okay, the chairman asked, could you comply? He says, why didn't you come here with a complying plan? You got a big lot. So what was your thinking on that?
So
What would it take to comply, and would it make any difference at the end? Given the scope of the delta here, we're only talking about 96 square feet on the FAR. Would it make any difference from, do you think any material difference?
Do you think it's possible to build a nice house and have it conform?
yeah, yes, that's reason. Yes, it's just it's a factor of, like I said before, kind of marrying how much living space we have versus how much garage space we have. So adding that second car garage kind of kicked me over.
But I may, Chairman, that is not the legal standard. So we're going to talk about that, because you could always make it smaller, but that's not the legal, the standard is on the FAR.
So during the beginning of your testimony, I believe you commented that most of the homes in this neighborhood, the Indian neighborhood, were I think you said like old Cape Cods, I think that's how you described it.
Cape Cods and colonials, yeah,
Cape Cods and colonials.
right, and a couple ranches.
In designing this house, did you identify other homes in the neighborhood that had excessive FARs?
I did not calculate FARs for other properties, only what we can visually see from the street. And our design is not trying to go over the top and create something that's not, there are, I think I mentioned 2 houses on the street and around the corner that are similar bulk sizes. And that's kind of what the houses that hadn't been touched, right, are not really apropos to use as an example. So we look to some houses.
It's the neighborhood.
It's the neighborhood, right?
Right?
Right.
So those houses that are the bigger houses, I guess those are the colonials you're referring to?
And the renovated
And
houses,
the
yes.
renovated houses? Okay. Did you check to see from the tax records approximately how many square feet those properties, those houses are?
No, I did not.
And what about same answer for regarding building coverage?
No, I did not.
Just
Good.
a quick question. So what is the square footage of the front porch? 6 feet by how?
It's
how
6
long?
feet by 43 feet, I think.
Okay. Okay. So
263 square feet.
Mr. Alonzo Fama announces from the cheap seats.
Second row, cheap seats, right?
Cheap seats.
That's like your house's setback. It's like 17 feet away. Wow, that's not that far, right?
43 feet long and 6 feet deep.
So what if we
That's-
multiply it 43 times 6?
258.
Okay, well, Mr. Alonzo Fama will give you the precise numbers, but that accounts for more than accounts for the overage on building coverage, on the building coverage. So it's the front porch.
I'm sorry, Rick, what's the delta on the building coverage?
The building coverage is 144 square feet and the FAR is 97 square feet.
97 or 96?
It's actually 97.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for architect? Any questions from the audience for the architect? Comments will be in later time. Counselor, turn it back to you.
I call Mike Lanzafama, an expert in the field of civil engineering and professional planning. You can have him sworn, please.
You swear affirm testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Michael Lanzafama. That's Lanzafama. I'm a licensed professional engineer, land surveyor and planner, licensed in the state of New Jersey. I'm a principal with the firm of Casey and Keller Incorporated, 258 Main Street, Millburn, New Jersey. I've been licensed as a professional engineer and planner since 1984, and I've testified before this board on numerous occasions, and my licenses are all current.
How long have you been coming to this board for, Michael?
I don't know, 30 years.
Is that as an observer or as someone who's testifying?
Is this from the cheap seats? Or?
Yeah, from the cheap seats, an observer from the cheap seats.
Either way, your qualifications are accepted, so please continue.
Thank you very much. So what we've put up on the easel is an exhibit we've prepared for this hearing using the software called Nearmaps, which gives you good quality aerial imagery of the subject property. The property, as you know, is tax lot 11 and block 1711 and is located in the R6 zone district.
Hang on one second.
That's all right, your assistant was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go, okay.
Go ahead.
A1 aerial photo for the record.
So as you can see, the property itself is located in that southeast corner of the Winding Way Loop. Pine Terrace is further to the west and about approximately 430 feet. The subdivision that actually created these lots was known as Pond Hill back in 1940. So with the break of World War II, most of the houses were constructed late 40s, early 50s. This particular house was constructed in 1950, and it is a typical Cape Cod type house, 1.5 stories with dormers up towards the roof. The property is 9,624 square feet in size, where 6,000 square feet is required in the R6 zone. We have 189 feet of frontage, creating a corner lot situation so that each of the sidelines are considered side yards and not rear yards. The westerly line is approximately 75 feet in length. The southerly line is about 135 feet in length. As the architect explained, the objective of the application was to upgrade the house to modern day standards, to provide a way in which the family could age into the house. That's why there's we show a master on the first floor as well as the second floor, and to just bring it up to the 2023 standards. We thought that the covered porch would make a nice amenity. It actually breaks up the facade of the house and does a good presentation to the streetscape. Just let's go through the numbers to see where we're at. When you look at the front yard setback, we actually have 2 because we're a corner lot. So you take a line and you bisect the front yard. So you have a required front yard setback as you move to the south and as you move to the west. So the southerly required front yard setback based upon the ordinance, which is the 3 adjoining properties to the west, comes out to 37 feet. And currently the existing structure is 21.83 feet. Let's just go over to the survey. This is the survey that's part of the package that was submitted, so I don't believe we need to mark that.
I apologize.
Sure.
Can you just clarify, like I see the north end
Okay.
and it's, I must be missing something because you keep referring to sort of the right side as the west.
The west.
But the arrow makes it seem like it should be the east. Just can you
No,
just
this
clarify
is,
that?
this is north,
Yeah,
east, west, south.
right.
Okay.
I know you
So
said
when I
west.
refer, this is, when we say the front yard setback as it relates to the west, I call it the west, I mean the lots that exist to the west of our property. When I refer to the south, I mean the properties that exist to the south of our property. That's how we defined it. I didn't see any other way to
Okay.
do it. I guess I could have used, well, not really north,
Okay.
but it was, I could have did 1 and 2.
We're calling the garage the south,
Correct.
to make it simple for Mr. Stein. The garage is the south.
Yeah,
All right.
go ahead.
Okay. So the existing setback off the corner of the garage is 21.83 feet. Required is 37, based upon the average as prescribed in your ordinance. The, this setback will be held, as the architect pointed out, as Keith pointed out, he held that corner, and that actually becomes the mudroom in the future. A new garage, which would extend out, is actually slightly back by 2 feet. It's 23.16 feet. So we need a variance for the introduction of the new garage into that required 37-foot setback, but also for the addition of the mass of the building vertically. That also intrudes into the front yard setback. So we need a variance for that as well. The western frontage, the setback average is 41.7 feet. Existing at the front corner is 22.84 feet. And with the introduction of the porch, that's going to be reduced to 17.27 feet. So those are the two variances with regard to the front yard setback. Side yard setback is compliant. As a matter of fact, as Keith pointed out, this little projection on the back of the building will be removed, and that setback would be increased from 17.06 feet to 21.6 feet. The left side side yard setback will be increased from 16.3 to 19.8. Lot coverage is compliant. It will be increasing from 2,108 square feet to 3,550, which would bring us up to 36.9%, where 45% is permitted. Building coverage is another variance in which we are seeking. Permitted under the code is 23%. Currently, we're at 16.5%, and that number would be going up to 24.5%. So allowed would be 2,214 square feet. Proposed is 2,358, or 144 square feet. Over to sheet 2.
I'll just call out your sheet number there after the
Yeah,
record.
sheet number 2 in the plan set. So you can see the reduction in the building corner here, opening up the side yard setbacks to the west and to the south. You can see the areas shaded in blue represent the new building area that's proposed on the south and east side of the building. This would be the 2-car garage area. This would be the mudroom. And the blue area, you see the rectangular area across the front is the new porch. Everything in the hatched area is the original building footprint that is being extended vertically. The porch, the front porch, is 263 square feet in size. So to answer some of the questions, if that porch were to be reduced, yes, you could make the building coverage compliant. Floor area ratio, what's permitted is 36%, or 3,465 square feet. We're proposing 3,562 square feet, so we're over by 97 square feet. The front yard coverages are compliant. They allowed is 30%. We're going to be at 29.2%. Building height is compliant. The number of stories are compliant. So you can see that many of the metrics that are assigned to the R6 zone are being adhered to with this particular application. Obviously, our toughest hurdle is the D4 variance associated with the FAR. And hearing board members, why can't we just simply become compliant? I think what the architect was trying to relate was the fact that when you start to work out all the moving parts and all the pieces that have to come together to make this house function and still work for the owners, not just now, but in the future, is he needed that few extra square feet to make this work. And what we have to look at is how that mass is impacting the neighborhood and the zoning ordinance and the zoning plan. Because keep in mind that an FAR variance is all about massing. It's a way to control mass, because we have a permitted use. It's not like a D1 variance where we have to prove special reasons in the sense of that the property is specifically suited for that use. In this particular case, what we have to demonstrate is, will the site accommodate the problems associated with that additional FAR? And I think the answer here is yes. You can see from the overall lot coverage, you can see from the building height, the number of stories, the increased setbacks on the side yards, that we can accommodate this massing. And then when you look at Keith's plan, I think what's really key here is his ability to break up the mass. Especially when you look at this particular facade. Granted, we're going up, we're intruding, yes, we are intruding into that front yard setback with this additional mass, but look at the variation in roof lines, the introduction of dormers. It really creates a very aesthetically pleasing situation on this particular corner and in this neighborhood. And if it were my neighborhood, I would really be happy to living next door to this particular structure. The problems that you always worry about is loss of light, air, and open space, the overwhelming character and scale to the neighborhood. I think this can fit in and can work on this property without overwhelming it. As I said before, the overall lot coverage is compliant, height is compliant, number of stories, and side yard setbacks.
And the delta is 97
97.
square.
That's what I said.
No, 97.
Oh, you're
Okay,
just chiming in.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the architect has integrated the excess mass into the structure so as to maintain the character of that original house. You can see it almost like grows out of that original house. So I think he's done an excellent job. And I think the covered porch actually breaks up the mass even further, even though it does intrude into that front yard setback. I think it is a nice element, and it is open. It's not like it's fully enclosed covered porch. The variances for building coverage and for front yard setbacks, obviously the front yard setback, we have an extremely peculiar lot situation here. We have a lawfully existing structure that already violates the front yard setback. So it would be virtually impossible to add anything to this structure without some type of variance being required. And I think by the efforts made here this evening and by Keith over a significant period of time, I think he's developed something that's aesthetically pleasing, that the expansion reorientation of the garage, I think, is very important. You can see the front facing garage is now a 2-car side entry garage. I think that also enhances the overall development. The existing, as I said, existing structure already violates the front yard setback. Any existing dwelling or expansion of the existing dwelling would exacerbate the need or the nonconformity. The location and configuration of the existing house, the front porch moves out 5.57 feet closer to the westerly street line. The new garage addition will be slightly set back further than the original setback of the building, but it does intrude into that average front yard setback. The second floor addition will encroach into the front yard to the same extent as the first level. However, the articulation and sloping of the roof lines softens the impact on the intrusion into the setbacks. As far as the negative criteria goes, I don't see any substantial detriment to the public good. I think the architect has done a good job in making the addition, making it home with contemporary standards for the owners. From the street, the house will become an attractive addition to the neighborhood. The impact on the closest adjoining homes will be minimal due to the removal of the back corner of the structure, so actually increasing the setback from their structure to the adjoining properties. When you look at the master plan, the 2018 master plan, it talks about promoting the character of the township as a small suburban area of high quality. I think that's exactly what this structure does. I think it does promote it. I think it does give something of quality to the neighborhood that it's going to be located in. So in my opinion, I believe that the variances also would advance several of the goals of the municipal land use law, which is the positive criteria. And that's the general welfare by bringing this home up to current day standards with amenities and the ability to age in place into this structure. It definitely promotes a desirable visual environment to creative development techniques and good design. So I think it does that. And I think it's really important to understand the need for families to want to remain in their home for a protracted period of time. My own experience, my wife and I are aging in place in our home. We have 5 bedrooms. Well, the other 4 bedrooms are usually filled with grandkids and kids visiting on holidays. And I think that's what this family would like to do. They'd like to accommodate their elderly mother and father now and themselves in the near future. And I think these are all important elements that the board should consider in making their determination. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mike, I just want to bring something out. I've been trying to make the point. You did too, that inherently there's some weighing, whether we're asking for a C2, but inherently in the process, there's some weighing in terms of the order of magnitude. So here we're talking about 114 square feet on building coverage, 144, and only the 97 square feet. So how do you see that in terms of?
Well, that's what I was trying to point out, that the numbers we're asking for is de minimis, and that really the building wouldn't look much different if it were compliant. Yet at the same time, the porch especially, I think is really an excellent element to consider in this. And I think it's worthwhile. I think the aesthetics of it is worth that extra 144 square feet.
All right, any questions for Mr. Longopalu?
Mike, did you take a look at what I was asking the architect mainly?
Yes.
And
Yes, it did.
And?
Most of the homes in the area range from about 1,900 square feet to up to 2,800 or 2,900 square feet.
And what's the square footage?
3524. 3,524.
24.
Oh, I'm sorry. 3,562. Sorry.
And what about, did you take a look at, for for building
I
coverage?
I didn't, other than when you look at the aerial image that I brought.
Exhibit A1.
Exhibit A1. I think that gives you a good sense of a comparison. For example, you look at the structure here immediately across the street versus our footprint, this building. Many of them are close or similar in size as far as square footage goes.
But you're comparing the current building to.
No, with the blue, you see the blue here?
I'm not that.
Okay. So if you look at that footprint versus, for example, this footprint or that footprint,
How much bigger are those lots on
we're
the other
larger,
side?
we're
Yeah.
larger.
Mike, why don't you come back to your variance drawing?
Actually, leave that one up a second. So when I approached this house, I approached it from the west. It's incredibly prominent when you approach it from the west. How much further in front of it does it sit than 39, which is the house to the right?
39 is at, I have the setbacks here.
Mine is at 40.
Thank you.
So it conforms.
Yes,
There's no minimum anymore.
yeah.
Well, yeah. there's-
Yeah,
exactly,
well-
because it's the.
Well, the average is 41.7, so technically it
Right,
doesn't.
right. So, how many houses in that neighborhood is set at 17 feet off the street?
Just, it's only the houses, I should have gotten up at the corner. It's only when around the bends, this one, and then up at the corner here. Those are the only ones. For some reason, the corner lots, when they built these homes, they pushed them closer to the street.
Right, are those set at 17 feet though? Those other homes?
No, not at 17, no. But they're similar to the setback that we have of about 21.
And those houses colonials?
No, I think this one is a
Looks like an
cape or a
expanded
ranch. It's a ranch, I think, that one.
Two questions. At the back, you have this blue strip in your, so how wide is that? Is that also 6 feet addition behind the garage, the mudroom part?
Well, it's an 8-foot expansion.
8-foot expansion, and how long would that be? Like, again, another 40
If
feet
you,
or so?
if you look on the architectural floor plans, you'll see the dimensions.
I think it's 62. Sheet 82.
Yeah, this, what's this?
This
piece?
is
42.
42.9.
It's 42 feet 9 inches by 8 feet is the expansion. That's this expansion right here.
So based on all that you heard about, 17 feet,
Mhm.
did you consider building the house, because you're adding 8 feet at the back, that you start, you've taken the two corners, right now, the current existing corners, and you've built on there, but pushing it back by 2 feet, so that kind of solves your lot of the
Well,
numbers here.
we're
I'm just
utilizing the
asking
existing
question.
building footprint. This is the existing building structure, and we're trying to go vertical from that. We were not trying to modify that at all. Because then you're talking about reconstructing the footing and the foundation that makes
So
it.
that is exactly what we're doing. We are going straight back, but then also adding the garage on the corner to get the access from the
I
side.
think the question was, why couldn't we push the house back 2 feet?
Right,
Oh, so
because you're
the-
adding at the back anyways, so, that sort of solves your problems, right? I mean, because it's 47 feet or 50 feet wide, if you go behind, you solve for your FAR, right? But it will be 100 square feet release, but I think
What you're saying is make the house smaller, sure, yeah. Yeah, if we make that, we'll be compliant.
Just a question, if that was considered, just to kind of be compliant.
Yeah, we did look at making the house compliant, but as Keith pointed out, as he developed the plan and the rooms all fit together, we felt that 97 square feet, and it's being accommodated at the rear of the structure would not be overburdening the neighborhood and the appearance of the structure. It really wouldn't look any different if it were compliant or 97 square feet over. And that's what we were trying to convey. And we felt that the architect did such a good job in the aesthetics of the structure that maybe it's worth the 97 square feet, and that's why we're here.
Mike, this is in the back, right? So you can see it on this drawing with the blue in the back. Because the question is, if you chopped a foot off, would anybody really notice? Would it be any benefit to the community? And that's a judgment call. That's a judgment call. Because you could always make it smaller if something came off the back.
At the back, correct.
Would it?
Right.
Yeah, we're making the argument that a foot off the back is not going to make a difference to the neighbor at all. That's a judgment call, and we think if you look at the project in total, it's reasonable and modest, given our numbers, 1% over and 144 square feet over. That the could comply argument is it's possible, physically possible. It often is to make it smaller, but is there going to be any real benefit to the community on that? Given the overall context, that's the facts we're trying to convey as best we can.
Any other questions? I will open it up to the audience for questions regarding this case. Anyone in the audience have a question regarding this? For any of the witnesses? Any of the witnesses, yeah. Anyone in the audience have a comment regarding this case? Counselor, would you like to sum up?
I think the board has the facts here. I think that the salient point is that the relief is modest. We're not going to come and say the house couldn't be smaller, but we think we have a very aesthetically pleasing front porch. You can make that smaller into a portico and take down some of the 144 feet. You could take a foot off the back, but to what real benefit? To what real benefit? Technical compliance, but that's why we have boards that give relief when things make sense and that are reasonable. We put a lot of thought into it. I know the architect did. We don't come lightly because when you're 1% over, you say, why don't you just make it go all the way? But there were a lot of compromises along the way. We think it's an excellent design, and we request the board's votes. We do need 5 out of 6, Chairman. You've heard me before. I don't want to walk away, so we'd like to try to get your thoughts.
Absolutely.
You know, we think it makes sense, and we'll go from there.
Great. In that case, I'll close the public portion. Board members, your thoughts?
I am not bothered by the FAR. I think that the house can, accommodate the additional, what is it, 97 square feet without, without it causing any detriment to the neighborhood. What concerns me a little bit more is the building coverage by way of the setback, because the house is already pushed pretty close to the street. And, looking at the renderings of the house, I think that the front porch looks nice, but my concern is it gonna be too overpowering because you're, pushing this house even closer to the, to the front of the street. So I'd be curious to know what my.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that massing is gonna be a big problem here. I think that by having it this large of a home, push that forward on the lot, and closer even to the street than it currently is gonna be absolutely detrimental to the streetscape. So I would not be in favor of the way it's currently presented, FAR included.
Yeah, but I agree with those comments. I mean, I'm less troubled by the FAR, but I just, as I'm not far from this area and just looking at the neighborhood, I do feel like when you look at the house in isolation, I mean, it's I think the plans are well done, but I worry about how close it is to the street and the massing of it on that street, and I feel like it's going to feel bigger than the houses around it, and so I'm a little bit concerned about that.
Similar comments.
I think you've done a beautiful job. It's a beautiful plan, but my concern is it's a very long property on a very long skinny plot of land. And I believe that the porch actually maximizes that appearance, that it's really long for that lot and for that neighborhood. I drove around the neighborhood and the majority of the houses are pretty modest and pretty small. There is a couple of other very large houses and they did stick out to me like, oh, that's a big one. And I worried that this could possibly have the same effect. But I think the long porch actually makes sure I think that this is really long property for that long skinny plot. So I would be more comfortable in the setback, if the setback was minimized.
Your thoughts?
Could we have 5? Ready for a break? Could we take 5 minutes to talk to the client and?
We're moving on, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think this board is taking a break
Yeah,
since
I don't know what that word is.
I remember doing some on Zoom when I went 3.5 hours, but no 3, 4, no breaks.
So here, let me
Okay,
understand,
good.
this. We're not gonna play let's make a deal here, okay? So if you want us to vote on this, we vote on this, but we're not gonna start.
I hear you. Could we get the December 18 date to come back?
All right.
Because I don't think we're gonna negotiate,
No, we're
you're
not.
suggesting,
We're not doing that.
we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that,
Let's see
we'll
all right.
rethink some things, so. A month is not too bad, as you know, for this board, so. Do we think everybody's gonna be here on December 18th as we move
I thought
into
everyone was
that?
gonna be here tonight, but things happen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the last minute.
Yeah, so I'd like to say yes, but you're in the danger zone at that time of year, so I don't know, but I'd
Okay.
like to say yes.
Okay.
We have 2 variances tonight.
I think that's good, yeah, I'm gonna take it with the usual announcement, Rob is
Correct.
giving me the big eyes, so we'll
Big
take.
eye.
Big
Big
eye.
Double eye.
Big eye.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this application is being carried until the board's December 18th, 2023 meeting, 7 o'clock, same place. No further notice will be provided by the applicant.
Okay, Chair, we have to get the plans in 10 days, so that's tight, but we're gonna try to make it if we can. If we can't, we'll let you know.
Yeah, please let Eileen know and move forward.
Okay. Thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
Let's see where's the end of calendar 39, 53, 23, 85 Maple Street.
No, but I mean seriously. Good. You can not be here. You know, congratulations. I had a better one. I needed more time. I needed much more of a runway than you did ever.
Okay, so who will be speaking this evening? Everyone? Come on up and let's swear everybody in.
Swear everybody Everybody, if everyone raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth? I do. Why don't you start with your name?
Alanet Allen, ILANIT, ALNT.
Hi, Mason Allen, MASON, ALLEN. Thank you.
Thomas Conway, CONWAY. Do you want to?
Yo, who's gonna start off?
Oh, we,
Yeah, you're just gonna talk.
One
Just introduce yourselves.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alanet Allen. I live at 85 Maple Street. We've lived there since 2010, so 13 years. The house is a 1928 French Norman style home. We love the character of the house. We're not looking to make any changes to that. We just want to make some modifications to the back of the home so that it is more livable for our family. We have 3 daughters who are now teenagers. And we have 2 back sections of the house. Back here was an addition that predated us to the kitchen, and this area is an enclosed sunroom. We'd like to connect the spaces since we no longer have a dining room because we converted that during COVID into an office where my husband works now full-time from home. So we no longer have a dining room. These 2 spaces are not currently connected. So we can't convert the sunroom into a dining room and have easy access to the kitchen. So those are really the only changes other than converting the existing deck to a patio that is actually smaller in size than the current deck.
Great. Just qualifications real quick.
Tom Conway. I'm an architect and a partner at Rose and Kelly Conway, Architecture and Design. I've been in front of you all a few times. I have a undergrad Bachelor of Environmental Design and Architecture from Miami University, a Master's of Architecture and Historic Preservation from University of Washington, Seattle. I've been practicing for decades, close to 40 years, but under registration, I'm currently licensed in the state of New Jersey. It's about 15 years probably for that. And I've presented in front of, my current standing is good with the state of New Jersey. And I've presented in front of South Orange, Maplewood, the whole train line pretty much, except for, I think, Morris Plains, but all the way out. Mostly I work in these historic properties. My background in historic preservation and architecture has led me, I've been chairman of the Summit HBC for the past 10 years. I just retired and I feel awesome about it. So I'm no longer doing what you're doing. So I work mostly on historic houses.
Thank you. Qualifications are accepted.
Thank you. So I'm going to try to go with the summary because I started with this because, as we talked about, this is a French Norman style. It's not a high French Norman, which often would have towers, but it has a lot of it, the steep roofs, the difference in material, the stucco, etc. So we want to make sure that anything we were doing on the back was contextual. What's kind of back here now is kind of, in a technical term, fugly. So we wanted to change all of that.
Is that a capital F?
A capital F with an exclamation point. But we're taking off this kind of lame deck, and it's all over paved in the back. Right back here, there's like a patio and a deck, and it just looks kind of like, I don't know what, but it doesn't look appropriate to the architecture of the house. So I wanted to let you know that the 2 variances are a direct result of the lot width. So the property is only 50 feet wide. What's required in this zone is 75 feet wide, and you'll see that the property is very, very narrow and very long. It's actually longer than what's actually required, but it doesn't have living space on the sides. What does make this better is because Maple, like this whole neighborhood, is very steep. So the houses step down so you don't have everybody kind of wedged right against each other. So it actually has a very pleasing feel to it. So that narrowness of only having 50 feet, when you put the 12 feet required on each side, that only leaves 26 feet for a house, which is, a garage is 24 by 24. So that gives you a sense of how wide the house would have to be. So what we're trying to do on this is bring the property more into conformity and put everything on the back. The only thing we're adding on the front of the house is a bracketed portico, so it doesn't require variance. And that is, and it doesn't project very deep. So that is a French Norman in style. It'll have a standing seam metal roof and a metal bracket, which we've been looking at the architecture and we picked that one because we liked it so much. And we thought it would really enhance the look. Pardon me. Look at the front, it'll just tuck in right into this piece. We actually don't even have to touch the stucco except right up there. So it's just a nice enhancement. So the goal of the project is to create a more, as they mentioned, a more functional kitchen, improve circulation on the house, and a new dining area. And then what is great is we're bringing the coverage more into conformity because we're removing the decks and the patio. So you'll see on the plan, there's currently a big deck and a big patio. And there was a shed that you guys removed. Mother Nature removed that. And we've taken, so we now are putting a much tighter patio. And the total square footage on the addition is only 90 square feet. And a large portion of that is wedged in that current little piece. And the reason we are actually projecting out and even need a variance at all on this is because we're trying to connect the architecture to each other. So the roof lines and everything work better in the back. So I'll show you that in plan in a little bit larger scale. So here's currently, this was the dining room, which is now Mason's full-time office. And there's a kitchen, living room, and there's this den addition, which really wasn't very well designed, as I mentioned. And then there's actually quite interesting and cool kitchen because they have great taste. So, but we want to really fix that up. And we're interconnecting that and we're adding a little sliver of plus or minus about 1 foot 6 inches. So the whole variance we're talking about is about that deep and about that wide. It's 4 feet. So because it projects into this little corner right here, because 12 is required for here. There's an existing detail here, so we just step that back and squared this piece off. So that's how we got there. On the upper floors, we're not doing any work on the second floor. And then we decided not to do this a crazy roof design, so we did something very simple. So you'll see that from the second floor, but it is an actually living space. And then the attic level is also maintained. We've updated the bathrooms over time and they came out great. So we're really happy about that. So the new proposed addition gets rid of this kind of 70s, whatever it is, thing. And we ended up putting a new contextual wavy wood material, windows that are same style as what were there rather than these. And then we were putting we're stuccoing the base of the addition, and we're using also parging on this piece as well, which will be the retainage here. There is currently a retaining wall that's falling apart, so we're just aligning it with that. And we thought, considering there's all the metal windows and the metal details, we thought something that's just very simple there would be elegant and it wouldn't, kind of block the view of the building or anything. So even though the property is downhill, it's still very attractive from that elevation. So you can see this is the proposed, this is actually the existing, and this is what we're proposing there. If we get in the technical numbers, should I keep going or do you need more information? It's pretty straightforward, but anyway, the lot area is 14,500. The existing allowable, what is existing is 10,000, so it's undersized. Lot width, as I said, is 75. Is required is 75. It's only 50. The lot depth is oversized, it's 200 where it's required to be 125. So this is a clear variance of shape of the lot, width and size of the lot, location of the house and the property, all of those elements that we often talk about. The front yard setback is at 40. It's consistent with the other houses on the street at 37 foot 8. And we have that bracketed detail, and there are a lot of pieces that the other houses have along the street that also protrude, like with soffits and details. The front side yard setback is going from what is required. This is the big piece, is that what's required is 12. The existing is 8 foot 8 and 6 foot 7. And we are changing that 6 foot 7. We're making it more conforming, and we're bringing that up to a 7 foot 8 on that side. So it's more conforming than it currently is. And the side yard combined, what's required is 35%, and what is existing is 31%. And that's no change. And with the addition, we're actually bringing that down to 33.2%, but it's still non-conforming. So, where it's required to be 35, the existing 31, and proposed 33.2. Because of that, as I said, that size piece that we're putting in. And as I said, lot coverage is going down from 38.68 down to 33.08. And the building coverage is going from 14.57 down to 14.9%. And that's because we're removing the deck and all these railings, which will count. And all the other elements, FAR, et cetera, building height, all those are in conformity. And that would be it.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions on the board?
It's all in the back. In my opinion, we feel the board can grant these setback variances without detriment to the neighborhood and the context.
Any questions for the public? Any comments from the public? I'll close the public portion of the meeting.
I would agree with that assessment. I think that this is a really well thought out plan. And I would be in favor of it.
Next. I agree with Scott, and I would say I was impressed by both the steepness of the road and the narrowness of your lot. And I can see your hardship, and I can see how hard you worked to make this near conforming. It's a pretty modest ask, so I'd be in favor.
Can I have a motion in this case?
Make a motion to approve the application.
I'll second.
Shaju Rajani,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Stewart.
Yes.
Priscilla Silat,
Yes.
Jessica Glass.
Yes.
Rick Henry.
Yes, good luck with the project.
Thank you so much.
Next up, calendar 39, on 23/25.
It's really steep. I'm scared to drive the road.
It's a great thing, right?
Raise your right hand, please. You swear from testimony about to give the next proceeding be the truth, whole truth, and the truth?
Yes.
The name for the record, please.
Nitin Pandey, NITIN PANDEY.
Understood. Who'd like to start off?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity. My name is Nitin Pandey. I'm the owner of 25 Old Road with my wife Nupur, We bought this house as a estate sale last year in March of 2022. And we had to take a number of renovations through it before we moved into the house, all renovations inside the house before we moved into the house in September of last year. We love the neighborhood. We have amazing neighbors who have made it really easy for us to get accustomed to the place and start settling in. We have 3 kids, a 7-year-old boy and 2 4-year-old twins, and we hope to raise them in the neighborhood as well. So the house we are talking about here is a bi-level. Most of the living space is on the 2nd floor. We have the living area, the kitchen, and we've got 3 bedrooms there, 4 bedrooms actually. Yes, 4 bedrooms, all living space on there. And then we have the master bedroom, which is actually jetting out from the house into the open. That's just the way it's designed. We didn't make any changes to the design there. We made some changes to the bathroom in the master, but the outside envelope stayed the same. So the way it is designed, it's jetting out of the house and it's exposed to the elements on all sides. It is supported by beams that are columns. It is supported by columns that are, on the lower floor. So after we completed the renovation of the master area in the winter, on a very cold December day last year, the pipes froze. And because the pipes froze, we couldn't obviously use that space for some time, but for 2 days, we kept trying to, thaw the pipes in order to be able to, open them up. It didn't work until, on a warmer day, the pipes burst, and then we had to reopen the ceiling from below, and we had to redo the insulation as well as repair the pipes in a number of places. When we did that, our plumber told us that, he's doing it, but it remains to be seen if that's going to stay because, the way the house, the master bedroom is built, it's outside exposed to the elements and therefore it may freeze again on a cold day. We haven't been able to test that out because, it's not that cold yet. So the project we are talking about here is really about that master bedroom and enclosing the space that's below that master bedroom. I'll turn it over to Mr. Singer to take us through the specifics.
Okay, before we go on, just so one of the variances you need is an FAR or floor area ratio variance, correct? That requires an affirmative vote of at least 5 board members on the board. And we have 6 board members this evening. So normally for a FAR, which is what's called a D type of variance, you would want 7 voting members, so you can go 5 for 7 and still get the approval. Here, you need to go 5 for 6 at a minimum to receive approval. So I'm assuming the fact that you're up here giving the presentation is that you intend to proceed understanding that you only have 6 votes to work with.
Yes.
We'll obviously give you our opinion before you vote, so if you decide you don't like what you hear, you can always vote this. Please proceed. Your qualifications.
Thomas Singer, I'm an architect, registered in New Jersey since 1988. Professional planner, registered in New Jersey since 2011. Have an undergraduate and graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania, master's in 1985. My license is still good.
Excellent. Thank you for giving us that. You accepted, so please proceed.
This is a 1960s utilitarian. It's really very simple. This is the area that's giving us a problem. It's about 30 feet from the floodplain on the west branch of the Rahway River. Pipes end up along here because the master bathroom's here. It's supported on 4x4 columns that are shallow. There's
Some
no
breathtaking
lateral
architecture.
bracing. What?
Breathtaking architecture.
Breathtaking architecture, and stands a good chance of ending up under Route 78 in a good storm.
Was that entered? Are we taking
Was that entered? What?
the pictures that you're?
Oh, no, it is labeled A1.
What's that?
That's labeled A1, those are not in the
It's not in
package.
the package, so it's-
This was not in the package.
I don't believe.
This one was not in the package, no.
Okay.
All right, well, wait, hold on a second. Tom, go back one.
Okay.
So your photo board, A1 is 4 photos
4 photos.
of the
2 photos, 2 renderings.
2 photos and 2 renderings, okay. What's the date on that?
11/20 today.
Okay, sorry.
That's unenclosed, that's the enclosed version from the street. You can see the back of this, and this is enclosed. There's a slight roof there to give it a little bit of scale. The numbers are high. The gross floor area we're looking for, currently it's over. This is an R6 zone. 36% is permitted. We're existing at 39.30%. And the proposed, which is essentially enclosing that area underneath the bedroom, gets us to 44.57%. The other variance is a side yard setback variance, side yard combined, which is on this side, because you've got to put the space beyond the deck.
And you're not making that worse, correct?
We're not making that worse, we're just filling in underneath the upper floor.
Yep.
So the upper floor is conforming, but the lower floor would also not be conforming. Well, on side yard combined, we wouldn't be conforming. What Nitin had said before was that most of the space in the house, usable space, is on the upper floor. So the ground floor, basically, you've got a chunk that's all of this space is garage and utility. So half the ground floor is gone. We're adding more space that's disconnected from the rest of the house. So either you gotta come down a stair to get into this space because it's separated by a utility room from the garage. Or go outside to get into it.
Well, which one's gonna be?
What?
Which one is it gonna be? You're gonna go through either one or?
There's a stair, we're proposing a stair from the upstairs hall down to it. But you can't get from there to other parts of the house without going through unconditioned space.
So you can't access this space from inside the house?
You'd have to go through the garage, through the utility room to get into it.
Is that how is there gonna be an access that way?
And then we're proposing a stair from the second floor.
I saw that on the deck,
Yeah, to get down. Well, no.
or whatever, yeah, I understand.
It's just the ceiling of the utility. So our goal is to provide an architectural enclosure, reinforce the foundation, put a continuous foundation in, put some shear walls in to meet the bracing requirements for this, insulate the floor, and provide a radiant slab so that there's heat. And the functional goal is to keep the pipes warm, but also to keep the house from being blown over or swept away. So the lateral bracing will be a concrete foundation with 1 inch threaded rods and shear bolts. everything that you need to keep it from going away. Two types of variances we're looking. We've got a C1, which is because of the practical difficulties for the owner. C2, because the benefits outweigh the detriments. It's sort of hardly noticeable from any part of the building, and the benefits to the owner are fairly extreme. And the downside is, if it washes out, it blocks the passage through Route 8078.
Can you explain that
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the benefit of the board members?
yeah. Thank you.
I highly doubt it's gonna wash across your.
When you get down to this point, this is Route 78 coming through. And the east branch and the west branch of the right-of-way river come together and they go under a small culvert. And that's sort of
Would you agree that's somewhat of an unlikely scenario? Would wash out towards 78.
well, the house is right here. And that's where the two rivers meet.
I have a question. So do you think it's going to wash out or do you think it's going to fall down because of this, the little columns are kind of spindly?
Well, if it falls down because of a flood, it'll take it away.
Oh, but will your construction address that potential?
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay, but if it's bad enough flood, it's going to wash it away. How
If
will
it's a
your
bad enough
construction-
flood, then yeah, but then everything else on the street
How will your
wash away.
construction prevent it from being flooded away?
Because instead of having individual footings that are in what would end up mud, we'd have a continuous one that connected to the house
Okay, thank
in
you.
all cases and was
So what's the plan with the space? I mean,
It's just gonna be.
storage.
just storage?
Yeah.
Big storage.
Well, so it's sort of what it is.
That's his choice.
Yeah.
It's not gonna go into that space, but.
So, okay.
Purposes of zoning promotes health, safety, morals, and general welfare by virtue of allowing the owner to live there and not creating a public nuisance. Security and safety from flood, fire, panic, and natural and man-made disasters. That's purpose B. And I, desirable visual environment, at least it looks better than it does now. It won't cause substantial detriment to the public good and will not substantially impact the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance because there aren't a lot of houses like this. There aren't a lot that are on stilts, and there aren't a lot that are on stilts right next to a river. And it will improve the view from the street and from the neighbors' properties.
What's the height gonna be under there?
The height under there, right?
Yeah, when it's finished.
It's
Let's slab up. Are you
it's
digging down?
about 7 feet, seven and a
Yeah,
half.
it's like, so I walked under it, but
Yeah, it's 7 feet. It's
Yeah.
basement height.
How big is that garage? What is the square footage of your existing garage?
550 square feet. So the garage is kind of oversized. The utility room brings that up to 710 square feet. So if you take those two components out of this, we're asking for a variance of 123 square feet. But we're not taking that out, so that's where we are.
One more point that I forgot to mention when I was talking was that even when the pipes are not frozen, I mean, the master bedroom does get very cold in the winters because it is exposed.
it's 22. Okay. All right. Let it be known, there's no one in the audience to either make comments or ask questions, so. I'll close the public portion then. So when I walked in that backyard, I was truly amazed at that. I just couldn't
They do look very,
What was that?
the columns look so.
It's just so unsafe. You don't want to lean on the thing.
Spindly.
It's just, it's unbelievable. And it's on these tiny little footings. It's just, it's
Yes,
incredible.
spindly.
Obviously if this thing had dirt around it, it would be considered floor area ratio, but unfortunately it's exposed in the back, so there you go. I think it almost has to be done. I don't love the numbers, but it is what it is. And honestly, I think it actually makes it look so much better. So I'd be in favor of it.
Agreed.
Yeah, just for safety reasons alone, it's almost mandatory.
So in that case, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Shelby Rajani,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt,
Yes.
Priscilla Pratt,
Yes.
Jessica Glad.
Yes.
Rick Whitmore.
Yes. Good luck with the project.
Thank you. We have a month or less. So we gotta get.
Spindly.
Well,
Spindly, spindly. We're gonna hang on to the words we're gonna hear again.
Yeah. Motion adjourned?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Once again, let me know there's no one left in the audience to comment.
Say a word.
Yeah. Hi.